Hi, Mike here. I wanted to talk to you about cell phone insurance and why I believe you should be canceling it if you have it. A couple years ago, I actually sat down and ran some numbers, and I was appalled when I saw how much the deductibles were. So not only are you paying every month $10 or $20 or $15 a month for this insurance on your cell phone, but when something actually happens, you need to pay a deductible. And at the time, I think the deductible was about $250. So this to me didn't make any sense. You can get a screen replaced. At this time, it was like about $80 a screen, or $100 a screen, or $200 a screen. Why is my deductible the same, if not more? What's the point of paying the every month charge of an insurance? Well, the answer is quite simple. There isn't one. There really isn't a good case for it. You shouldn't be paying it. So a couple years ago, I stopped paying the insurance to the cell phone bill, and instead I opened up a bank account. I called it cell phone, and instead of paying the $30 a month for two phones, for me and my wife's phone, to T-Mobile, I believe at the time, I actually paid it to myself. I actually transferred that $30 to that bank account with the idea that's my insurance. Okay, so that money will keep growing. If something does happen to my phone, God forbid, think about how often does your phone actually break? When's the last time you broke your phone? Okay, maybe for some people it was just recently, maybe it's never happened to you. So how much money have you wasted over all those years, over just in case? Now, what if you would have paid that money into an account? How much money would you have in there? So my account now has $1,000. That's because I actually stopped funding it about a year ago. Um, so I have that money sitting there. If something ever does happen to my phone, um, that's going to be my insurance. I'll take the money out of there. And I haven't paid insurance in about 3 or 4 years. Okay, so what I did was just to help explain the numbers here. I took the three major cell phone carriers slash insurers out there. So Verizon is the biggest one. I was surprised to do some research. They said Verizon has the most people on their plan. I use Sprint, and then I also know that a lot of people use AppleCare. So I wanted to put all of them here. Okay, so this is each company listed, and these plans are so confusing. I couldn't even figure out if it's Sprint now charges $12 or $19 per month. So I put both in here just to try to be a little thorough, just to give you some information. So this is the per cost. This is for just one phone, right? So $10 each phone for AppleCare per month. Verizon $17. I double checked this a couple times. I was surprised. Sprint was $12, and then they have the $19 plan. Again, I still don't know what the difference between the two is. So if you actually, what I did was in this case, let's just say you broke your screen. It's probably the most likely scenario is that you break your screen. Okay, so here, if you break your screen, Apple will charge you $30. Verizon will charge you $200. I checked this. They actually have a website. Let me flip over. You could go here. You can actually see iPhone 11. So I'm using an iPhone 11 as my example. That's the most current, or I'd say the most current usable phone. And you see deductibles here, $200. Okay, $17 a month. And there's this $50 plan. This stuff's so confusing. So I went with the lower number to $17 a month with the $200 deductible. Okay, so let's go back. Sprint is $30 if you break your screen in both cases. Okay, so your over 2 years, right? You keep your phone usually for 2 years. This is your 2-year cost. So you can see Verizon's way higher, and then this Sprint is not that good either. But they're all kind of ridiculous if you ask me. Then you have your 1 year. So what I did was I said, all right, let's give everyone in the 2-year period one chance to break their phone. If you were to do that, you would overpay by $70 if you use AppleCare. Verizon, you've overpaid by $408. Sprint, you've overpaid by $118, and this Sprint one you overpaid by $286, almost $300. Now, if you haven't broken your phone, you haven't had any issues, you've actually overpaid by this much. This is how much you've overpaid. I don't know why, but this is how much you've overpaid. Okay, and the $200 charge I got is actually high. I've gotten phones fixed for $80 for the screen. So I think $200 is high, but what I did was I went to Apple's website. They charge $200. I figured that was the safest thing to go by. But if you go to one of these mall places, which they work great, you get it done for probably half of that. Okay. And if you have an older phone, actually it's even cheaper. Okay, so if you have the highest end phone, it's going to be more. So this is kind of about a middle, let's say it's a middle of the road. And I use all conservative numbers. You actually are probably paying more than this, honestly. Now, if you're like me, you don't just have one phone. You have two phones. Okay? If you are married, or maybe if you have kids or anything, you might have more than two phones. You have four phones. So actually, what you've overpaid. So what I would have overpaid if I had Apple Care is I would have overpaid $140 over 2 years. With Verizon, I would have paid $860, and you can kind of figure it out here how much you've overpaid. Now, instead, wouldn't it be great, instead of overpaying by this much, you actually just put this money into a bank account, and then if you did need it, you would just use that money to pay for it. Okay, this is just a mindset. I think it's to me this makes sense. I did it, and actually it worked. I have the money sitting there. You do the direct deposit into the account, set it and forget it. And God forbid something happens, you draw the money from that account. Okay, it's very unlikely you're going to need over $1,000 for your broken phone, unless you threw your phone at someone else and you broke their phone. I don't know. But think about it. Run the numbers. Look at your deductible. Look at how much you're paying. Your numbers may be a little different than this, but really think about this. This doesn't make any sense to me. Cut your cell phone insurance bill and save yourself some money.